They danced until their feet split open. They danced until their lungs collapsed. They danced until their hearts stopped beating. In the summer of 1518, hundreds of people in the city of Strasbourg stepped into the streets and began to dance uncontrollably. They twirled, spun, and thrashed day and night, unable to rest, unable to stop. Some collapsed from exhaustion. Others died where they stood. Within weeks, the streets were filled with bodies, some still dancing, others already gone. A city that was already struggling found itself trapped inside a nightmare no one could explain. But what could make an entire community dance itself to death? What force, natural, psychological, or supernatural, could drive hundreds of ordinary people into a lethal frenzy of nonstop movement? Tonight, we dive deep into one of the strangest, most disturbing, and most mysterious events in human history: the dancing plague of 1518. To understand why Strasbourg was so vulnerable, we have to step into the world of early 16th century Europe, a world nothing like our own. Strasbourg in 1518 was not a city of music, laughter, or festivals. It was a city suffocating in fear. A devastating famine had swept through the region. People were starving. Children were dying. The harvest had failed again and again. On top of this, the population was crushed under brutal taxes, political corruption, and constant threats of disease. Religious preachers screamed that God was punishing humanity for its sins. The church taught that even a small mistake could invite divine wrath. Daily life felt like living on the edge of an emotional cliff. One wrong gust of wind, one unexpected tragedy, and the whole city could fall apart. The citizens of Strasbourg were exhausted, physically, mentally, and spiritually. No one knew it, but the entire region was standing on a psychological fault line. And that fault line was about to crack. On an ordinary morning in mid-July, a woman known to history only as Frau Trophia walked out into a narrow street outside her home. And without warning, she began to dance. But this wasn't joyful dancing. Her movements were sharp, frantic, and disturbing. Witnesses later said she looked as though she was fighting something invisible, an unseen force that controlled her limbs. She danced for hours. Then day turned to night and she kept dancing. The next morning came, and she was still moving. Her family begged her to stop. Neighbors tried to restrain her. But her body refused to listen. After 3 days of nonstop movement, her feet were swollen and bleeding. Her face was pale. But the dancing continued. Soon, crowds began gathering around her, not to celebrate, but to watch something they had never seen before. And in ways no one understood, the sight of Frau Trophia triggered something deep within the minds of those who watched. Within days, others joined her. 10 people, then 20, then 50. By the end of the month, nearly 400 people were dancing uncontrollably through the streets. Strasbourg had become a city possessed. As the number of dancers grew, the situation turned deadly. Some dancers screamed as they moved, begging for help. Others laughed hysterically, tears streaming down their faces. Many appeared to be in a trance or a dreamlike state, unable to recognize their own families. They danced until their bodies gave out, muscles tearing, feet breaking open, bones dislocating. Chroniclers wrote that the streets became slick with sweat and blood. Eyewitness accounts described people collapsing, unconscious, only to rise again and continue dancing. Women spinning until they vomited. Men shaking violently while their legs kept moving. Teenagers joining the plague, unable to resist the strange invitation to dance. And then, the deaths began. Dozens collapsed from heart attacks, heat exhaustion, or total organ failure. Some died mid-step. Others fell into the arms of onlookers who were too terrified to help. The more people danced, the more others were pulled in. The plague was contagious, not through germs but through the human mind. Terrified and desperate, city leaders sought answers. Religious figures, doctors, and scholars debated fiercely about the cause. Some said it was a curse. Some said it was demonic possession. Some claimed the dancers wanted this. But the response of the authorities was, in hindsight, catastrophic. They believed the dancers suffered from an excess of hot blood. Their solution? Make them dance even more. City leaders built an enormous wooden stage, cleared out public spaces, and hired musicians, drummers, and pipers to play continuously. They even encouraged more people to join the dancers so the demons could be burned out. Imagine hundreds of people dancing to forced music, collapsing in agony as officials pushed them forward. Instead of stopping the plague, the city fueled it, like throwing gasoline on a burning house. The sound of constant music filled Strasbourg for weeks as the dancers slowly destroyed their own bodies. It was mass tragedy disguised as entertainment. Now that we've walked through the nightmare, we face the real question. Why did this happen? Even 500 years later, experts are still searching for answers. Here are the leading theories. 1. Mass psychogenic illness, mass hysteria. Modern researchers believe stress levels in 1518 were so extreme that large numbers of people broke down psychologically, simultaneously. The human brain under trauma can produce very real physical symptoms. Tremors, seizures, paralysis. Or, in this case, uncontrollable dancing. 2. Religious and cultural influence. People deeply believed in saints, curses, and divine punishment. If someone saw others dancing uncontrollably, they might unconsciously join. Not out of choice but out of fear, expectation, and belief. 3. Ergot poisoning. A fungus on rye bread can cause hallucinations similar to LSD. Some think the dancers were poisoned. But ergot usually causes convulsions and paralysis, not rhythmic dancing. So this theory has major problems. 4. Social contagion. The idea that emotions, behaviors, and panic can spread through communities. Just like laughter or fear is contagious, so can physical reactions be. When hundreds began dancing, others simply couldn't resist the psychological pull. 5. Neurological illnesses. Some researchers propose rare neurological disorders or epileptic episodes could have contributed, but these do not explain the scale of the outbreak. 6. A perfect storm. Many experts believe the dancing plague wasn't caused by one thing, but by a combination: starvation, trauma, fear, religious terror, psychological pressure, and cultural expectations. Strasbourg was a city ready to shatter. And it did. Eventually, authorities realized that music and forced dancing were making everything worse. They shut down stages, banned public music, and gathered the dancers, those still alive, in carriages. These weak, trembling survivors were transported to a shrine on a nearby mountain. Many had to be carried. Some were dragged. Others could barely stand. There, priests prayed over them, washed their feet, and performed rituals to calm their bodies. Slowly, very slowly, the dancing stopped. Not because the dancers were cured, but because their minds finally felt safe. The nightmare ended, but not without leaving deep psychological scars on the city. The dancing plague of 1518 is more than a strange historical curiosity. It is a reminder of how powerful the human mind is, capable of creating miracles and catastrophes. It shows how fear, trauma, and belief can shape entire communities. It reveals how fragile society becomes when people are pushed beyond their limits. And perhaps the most terrifying part? Mass hysteria still exists today. It appears in waves of panic, social media frenzies, conspiracy movements, and psychological outbreaks around the world. We are not as far from 1518 as we like to think. In the end, the people of Strasbourg didn't dance because they wanted to. They didn't dance because of joy. They danced because their world had become too heavy to bear. A city suffering under fear and famine broke in the most unexpected and tragic way imaginable. They danced not to celebrate life but to escape it. And that is why the dancing plague of 1518 remains one of history's most haunting mysteries. A silent warning from the past about what happens when a society is pushed to its breaking point.